Imagine a world where the IPL never took off. No billion-dollar auctions, no McCullum 158, no Dhoni magic in yellow. What if India's biggest cricketing revolution had flopped before it even began?
In this episode, we dive into the alternate reality where the IPL wasn't a success, breaking down the sliding door moments that could have killed it, the ripple effects on Indian and world cricket, and the players and teams and tournaments that would have shaped the game instead.
Buckle up, this one's a wild ride. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Reverse Sweep Show. This is your host SS, and joining me as ever is my co-host AB. As you would see probably by the jersey that I'm wearing, that we are going to talk about the IPL, as I'm wearing the jersey of the cringiest fan base in the IPL, as people are saying on Twitter. So this is a big FU to all the fans that don't like LSG, because I'm an LSG fan. But first things first, AB, how are you doing? Are you looking forward to yet another edition of the Reverse Sweep Show as well as the IPL?
First of all, to start off with, I like the new tradition that you have started on the podcast where you start wearing the jerseys of the team that you support. And apparently, as we have seen the last couple of times, the teams that you have been supporting have been winning. So good times for LSG. I don't know, but let's see. We have an exciting season of IPL coming up. It's like the entire cricketing season's changing. Just a couple of weeks back, we were talking about Champions Trophy. Before that, we were talking about the BGT and so many topics that we spoke of before that. And now it's the IPL season upon us. So yeah, excited for all of that. I'm also, as you can see from the background, I'm in a new place, so I'm back to my hometown, and also feeling a bit nostalgic because this is where we started recording the podcast. The first episode that we did, the second episode, so first few episodes were recorded here. So also feeling a bit nostalgic. But yeah, that's about me. How's everything at your end, SS?
Yeah, looking forward to the IPL. It's the opening night. It's been 18 years and counting with IPL. It's been almost that we have been brought up with it now. We look forward to this part of the season. When it starts, we are totally engrossed. I saw a Monte Carlo simulation somebody ran on on Twitter about if IPL 18th runs for 100 times, which team has the best probability to win? It's SRH at 20%. LSG's bottom of the pile at 1%, but I will take that 1% any day because that's what fans
What's
care about.
RCB's percentage?
Right in the bang in the middle, I believe so. But I would still say LSG has a better chance of winning the IPL than RCB. That's how it plays out for RCB. But today we are not talking franchise specifically. We are talking about IPL in general, how big of a role it has played. And AB, for the benefit of our listeners and viewers, what exactly is today's topic before we dive straight into it?
Yeah, so I've actually been following this series of episodes that Harsha Bhogle has been doing on YouTube on top 25 moments of Indian cricket. This is a series he started around 6 months back, right around the same time when we started this podcast. And he has spoken about some of the really impactful moments in the game, like the 83 Cricket World Cup win, 2011 Cricket World Cup win, emergence of Sachin Tendulkar onto the Indian cricketing scene, and all the greats of Indian cricket. But then, right at the top, which just launched last week, the episode, right at the top, he speaks about IPL as the biggest moment of Indian cricket. And so we thought, with the entire IPL season upon us, and this insight from Harsha Bhogle, so we'll talk about IPL and we'll talk about a what if. So, what if IPL happened but did not pick up? What if IPL wasn't a success? What if it wasn't a phenomenon the way we know it right now? How would it have changed Indian cricket, global cricket? What would have the global cricketing landscape been like right now? So, that's the topic for today. SS, for all our listeners and viewers, do you want to set a quick context?
Yeah, and the context takes us back almost 18 years, as I mentioned. It's the 18th edition of the IPL that kicks off today. Year 2007, quite an up and down year. We were terrible in the ODI World Cup, and post that, there was a lot of backlash against BCCI and the star players and how seriously they took services for India and Indian cricket in general. And then Subhash Chandra led Z decided to launch ICL on the phenomena of like franchises and bringing top players and bringing some kind of a challenge to BCCI in general, which wasn't taken well by the cricket administrators, and BCCI forced domestic associations to not send their players, otherwise they will get banned. They used their power in cricketing world to stop foreign boards from sending their players. So it essentially remained like a fringe and retired players league. Uh, we had the T20 World Cup in which all the star players of India decided not to go. Young captain, we have talked about a lot, and unexpectedly, in a format which nobody knew as a cricket fan much about, we became world champions. And if we look back, I mean, we have won ICC trophies since then, but I still have a special place, and I'm sure millions of Indian cricket fans have a special place for that 2007 T20 World Cup team, and that gave the fillip to this Lalit Modi's idea that we can challenge not only ICL, but we can also rise um, along with the tide of T20 popularity that came out of the World Cup win with this concept of Indian Premier League, just getting all the inspiration from the foreign leagues in other sports like football, and try to make it in a franchise ownership model, unlike ICL, which is like more of a Z enterprise. And they got in an auction mode, they got uh, big business houses to invest, Bollywood stars, and yeah, I mean, it came out to be in a format which was picking up 3 hour concept, prime time India watching, young public who is still getting into cricket, or the even older public. They're just intrigued by the entire thing. And it really played a big role in trying to push the financial muscle of BCCI. And also that despite the global recession, which led to a lot of problems for ICL, it never was a problem with IPL because the broadcasting revenue kept increasing. It has been such a behemoth, a juggernaut, which keeps going and keeps going. But before we go into the what ifs and why it has been so successful and why which factors would make it a bit less successful? What are, in your mind, the biggest points that you would think historically or nostalgically, which were like the biggest moments for you? What are your first memories of IPL in general?
Yeah, I think that is such a good question, and it takes me back so many years, like 18 years back when IPL just started. I think it had the perfect start that a tournament could ever hope for, and this was a match between KKR and RCB, very much like today. We are also having another season with starting with that matchup, but then this was back in 2008, and Brendan McCullum from New Zealand, playing for Kolkata Knight Riders, smashed a 158 of I don't know how many balls, but then that was just such a blockbuster start to the tournament. It gave, like, at least I remember, cricket was never the same after that, because before that, even in the 2007 World Cup, we were looking at chasing scores around 160, 150, 170. There was a match when Yuvraj scored uh, against England, hit those six sixes, in which the match went over 200. But then we never saw a batter come in and dominate the way Brendan McCullum did that day. And I'm pretty sure that the tournament, even Brendan McCullum's own career, would not have been the same without that. So this for me is one of the earliest memories of IPL, and this in fact is like the first memory that anyone would have of IPL. I think the perfect start to the tournament. Another thing which I always remember about IPL and the first season is how they had brought all the international stars to the level of City. So basically, Sachin leading the Mumbai Indians, Saurav Ganguly with Kolkata, Rahul Dravid with Bangalore. I think Virendra Sehwag was playing for
For
Delhi, and
Delhi,
then Yuvraj for Punjab. So they had
right.
picked up all these players who were based out of those parts of the country, and then they tried to bring that city level of fan base there, and then add to that the perfect mixture of the global superstars, Gilchrist, Vaughan, Ponting, all of them featuring in this tournament. So it made up for a really interesting setup. Plus, then you have, as you mentioned, SS, you have all this Bollywood and glamour in the gentleman's game, which was never seen before. I think that is what captured everyone's
And
attention.
Vijay Mallya's parties.
Vijay Malia's parties and famous, whatever you want to call it. But then, yeah. So these were some of my early memories. And
And
then,
you made really interesting points. I mean, on the McCullum thing, I think it's crazy now. People talk about baseball and the influence he has had on English cricket. I would say he has had a bigger impact on Indian cricket, IPL, and world cricket because of that one knock. It was just mind-boggling that somebody from New Zealand would turn up for a Kolkata team, prime time, India time. People don't know what to expect. It's like, what is happening at 8 p.m.? IPL is starting. What is IPL? What is going to happen? And then he just absolutely there are still no words. It still gives me goosebumps thinking about that evening when I was watching and him going in with this black and golden jersey with this golden helmets. I mean, it was like cricket never seen before.
absolutely. And then we spoke about the start of the tournament. What about the end of the tournament? What about the end of the season one SS? Rajasthan Royals winning. Nobody would have given them even 1% of chance walking into the tournament to lift the trophy. But then they go in with Shane Warne as their captain and coach, and they lift the trophy.
And people were so enamored by that team. They were like, okay, they are the so-called the least expensive franchise to be bought, based in the least glamorous city, so to speak. Uh, Driven by a guy who is recently like internationally retired, young team, and they were playing against Dhoni's CSK. And I remember cheering for Vaughan's team and not Dhoni. I mean, that is mind-boggling that just in the same year, you would have never thought that you would be cheering against your national team captain who had just won your World Cup. But I was there. That was the beauty and the magic of IPL within one season.
Absolutely. Yep. So I think we have spoken about our early memories of IPL. What's next, SS, on the show? Should we go into the big what ifs, starting with the early parts? So, what gave IPL that quick fillip in the early seasons? What do you think are those key factors?
Right. I mean, as we spoke about with the McLaren, I think the broadcasters, the advertisers, the public just got enamored and they were quickly bought into this entire thing that this is going to stay over here. BCCI were smart enough to make sure all their best players are available and all the elite players are made available, and that gave like a quality test to it, which ICL never had that. It had like that kind of validation coming in. And that made the product successful. It's like your basic features of your phone should work, then only you will make a sexy phone. It's not just a design. Your, I mean, the tooling should be great. Your chipset should be great. And that was what with this. I mean, you had elite coaches and it was up and down this country they were traveling on. There was a lot of quirk about whether in a country versus country game can fans get behind their city franchise. They got behind. So the product was made so successful because of the skills that were made available on the ground. And kudos to IPL, Lalit Modi, and the foreign boards, in fact, to make that happen. They also did something very interesting, which was to the backlash of the ODI World Cup exit and ICL. They said we are going to make sure that our franchises have catchment areas so that they can pick young players from the areas that they are representing. So that gave another thing that this is like a domestic tournament at the heart of it, but then they are bringing in expertise from the world of coaching in terms of players, leadership in the dressing room, on the pitch. That made the product really successful where ICL lacked a lot. And then for me, the second big thing that gave a lot of push was the most amazing combinations of players that would be in a team. I mean, it was crazy for me after the 2008 Sydney Test match and that series which we talked about in an earlier episode that Ganguly and Ponting would be in the same team, uh, owned by Shah Rukh Khan, the biggest superstar in the country. You had Ishan Sharma who had bamboozled Ponting earlier in that year, playing for the same franchise. And then you add Shoaib Akhtar and Umar Gul later representing the same franchise. Cannot imagine Shoaib Akhtar and Saurav Ganguly playing together. And then we had the MI thing as well, in which you had all the Bunky Gate protagonists playing together, Sachin, Harbhajan, Simons, and Ponting together. That is just mind. That is like
That
almost
is amazing to
that
even
is so
think of.
absurd. Yeah, that is so absurd, and that absurdity makes it so good.
And also, just to give people some context, right now, maybe everyone who watches IPL, this is something which has got to normalize that people that plays across countries are on very friendly terms. That just did not happen back in the day. I think IPL is what changed it, and that is the entire
Yeah.
phenomena that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
imagine if Ponting started pushing and shoving Ishan Sharma. I remember Ponting giving some kind of bowling instruction to Ishan Sharma in the first game together. I was like, what the hell is happening? This is so crazy, but this is so good. I mean, that so the product, because of the entertainment value, because of Bollywood, but more because of the skills and just this intermingling of so many different kind of cricketing cultures together. Of course, propelled by the BCCI cash. That is like the biggest reason for me why IPL made it, and that's why because the first season got through, then it became even easier. We had some challenge in the second season, which we're going to talk about, but that's how it got through.
I also feel that IPL got the absolutely perfect marketing. I still remember SRK dancing and promoting KKR in those black and golden jerseys, helmets.
And the
That's
whistle
like,
podu of
yeah,
Chennai Super
absolutely.
Kings. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think those also make up for some of the most entertaining advertisements that we see on TV. I don't know, SS, if you are seeing the latest version of Dream 11 ads for IPL. I mean, I think
Right.
they're quite amazing, these set of ads.
And I mean also the earlier theme songs as well. I loved the Dunia Hila Denge one from Mumbai Indians. I remember a podcast in which Adam Gilchrist and Rohit Sharma were there. They were discussing about the old Deccan Chargers theme song as well. So there is nostalgia tied so much into all that things that went into with all the C8 strategic timeouts and DLF IPL. So you kind of have brand entanglement there and corporatization of cricket and the franchise element. So many good things came out of this, and I believe that the first season has a huge role to play because in the second season in 2009, India decides to have its general elections, not decide, but it had to have 5 years of the government. And because of the security concerns around IPL and the security situation around in South Asia, decided to take the tournament to South Africa. What did you feel then? Would that, in your mind at that point of time, felt like a big risk to IPL? What was your opinion?
And now that I think about it, it definitely was such a big risk because you're essentially losing all the in-ground audience. But back in the day, I mean, in my early childhood years, the first World Cup that I properly followed and understood was the 2003 World Cup that happened in South Africa. And I was quite glued to the entire South African landscape and cricket being played there. I absolutely loved watching that on my television. So for me, as a viewer sitting in India, watching Indian players and global superstars compete in South Africa made up for some really good watching experience. So, although now looking back at it, it was such a huge risk, but as an experience of watching it on TV, I think it was a fairly good experience. But definitely a big what if for IPL. I mean, considering the entire economics
Right.
around the sport,
Right.
around the tournament. What's your take on that, SS?
I mean, this is where the smart acumen of making sure broadcasting income doesn't get affected by it, because primarily the gate fees is not such a big revenue generator for the BCCI, the boards, the franchises. It's always the broadcasting revenue, and they're locked in by then. Also, they made sure that the matches were being broadcasted at a India convenient time as well, and that good equation with South African board, which now comes to a lot of help for them because now they are essentially driving it by themselves. So I believe they had good thought process, and I feel because IPL, you had this IPL commissioner bit. IPL was running like an autonomous institution inside BCCI, so they had a lot of freedom. They were looking at all the boards around the world. They were looking at different sports and how the franchise sports are run, and they were taking the best bits out of it. So even though it was a risk, but it paid off, and that was like a very well calculated thought from them. It wasn't like they were not prepared for it, even though it's something that they do not control, the elections, the security apparatus, but they did plan it out really well. So even if it failed, in my opinion, they would have done well, but it's certainly a big what if.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And these kind of what ifs are not isolated events in IPL, right? It's not like IPL just saw one of these what ifs. A few years down the line,
Absolutely.
there was, I feel, one of the biggest what ifs for IPL in its history, which is the entire match fixing, spot fixing scandal, which happened around 2013. Two of the marquee teams of the tournament, CSK, having one of the biggest fan following at that time, were banned for a few years. Same with RR. What's your take on that, SS? What impact did it have on IPL? What is the what if around that? How did IPL come out of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's as you said. I think the biggest storyline that could have affected was around match fixing and corruption in general. I think after the 1998, 1999 match fixing scandal affecting international cricket, the spot fixing came back in the limelight with the Mohammad Amir situation, Salman Butt situation. Um, but then this also that you had team owners, you had parties going on, you had people randomly walking into the dugout and the dressing rooms. You had situation of ownership as well. Remember the Kochi Tuskers case and a lot of political connections over there. So you had so much filth around in the system that it had to be cleaned up. Lalit Modi was a victim of it in a way as well. You had BCCI having a much bigger control in IPL, not run as autonomous body. They put rules around partying and around any kind of monetary exchanges, making it more transparent. Anti-corruption unit of ICC started making sure that rules, checks and balances were put in place. But when CSK and RR were chucked out of the tournament, of course they brought in replacement franchises, but that was like the biggest risk because even the big cricketers were being questioned at that point of time, involved in those franchises and their sports agencies that were connected to the N. Srinivasan and the CSK organization. That went to the courts as well. That went to a lot of inquiries as well. And if that didn't turn out the way it turned out, that everything or everyone came out to be kind of all right, the people were punished and those were just removed from the system while the organization came back. If that didn't happen, I think that would have been a big problem. I think if there were bigger fishes caught or if there was a bigger thing that comes out of it, I think IPL would have really struggled to gain any kind of legitimacy because fans had been stung in the past. They couldn't take it again that their biggest stars were involved in spot fixing and match fixing. Um, I think that was the moment when I felt that if something wrong comes out, IPL really struggles over here, and your foreign leagues uh, might take a like a move on us, and also the hegemony of Indian cricket would be troubled, and in general, cricket itself would be back again in the dark ages of 90s, late 90s. So we got quite lucky with that situation, I believe.
Absolutely. I also agree to that. And if I also think about it from a fan's perspective, then there were a few structural changes that IPL was trying to make. Cricket has always been a country first game, and this was a format, a league where you are trying to have cities in India compete against each other. So you want to build loyal fan base for those cities by having superstars playing for those particular cities in the early times, and then you want to have the fans watch the sport, follow the teams, and
Even
then
though
get
you will keep
invested.
changing the players, even though you will
Even
keep
though,
changing the players with mega auctions and all that.
yeah, and then imagine 4 5 years down the line when you have some bit of loyal fan base
Right.
creating getting created, and then you have something like this hit the scenes, and then the fans feel cheated. How do they get associated to those particular franchisees? How do you create a brand out of those particular franchisees? So to that extent, I feel, yeah, everything you spoke about, we did get lucky with this. Now we know teams like
Right.
Mumbai Indians, Chennai Super Kings, Royal Challengers Bangalore are some of the biggest brands in the sporting world
And
globally.
nobody talks about those allegations anymore. Changes have been made. Some of the players are still playing who were like in the midst of that storm. And it's a testament to the product, the cricketing product and the marketing product that IPL is. Because of all the advertising revenue, because of all the top players playing, bringing in top A-level skills, this is like the premier tournament. It's unofficially a clean window for this tournament. Fans have come back to it because at the end of the day they enjoy cricket and they firmly believe that now all the corruption things have gone away from the system, have been weeded out, and that's why they are back. If cricket was not of that top notch, if not big players were representing these franchises, maybe this could have died out a bit earlier. Maybe there would have been fishes caught around it. So I would say the top skills of cricketers and the product in general kind of protected because it built a moat around the entire thing. Even uh, match fixing couldn't penetrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about the what ifs around IPL success, we spoke about the IPL having to move to South Africa. We spoke about the turbulent times of match fixing, but then also something very simple like all these boards, Australian Cricket Board, English Cricket Board, allowing their players to feature in IPL to free up those calendars and then let their players to come to India and play. Even that is a big what if, right? What if those
Yeah,
players weren't allowed to come and feature in the IPL? In the first year, who knew whether IPL will pick up or not, whether the big bucks will come in or not?
right.
So
I think we
that's
got the answer in the second season itself because when we had this mini auction, Peterson and Flintoff were the biggest money earners and they were not even allowed in the first. I mean, England, still to this day, England cricket is still a bit behind allowing players. But I think the boards understood very quickly if they put like strong constraints on it, our players will just completely, because of the riches being offered, they will be very happy to build up their corpus when they have like a 15-year period to build up that in your prime cricketing years. They will be happy to do that. Not everyone will anyways get a chance to play for their 11. So why do you care about the contract? So, okay, Australia and England could afford it, but others cannot. And that's why when the West Indies started winning T20 World Cups by performing so great in the IPL and a lot of teams started, okay, we are falling behind the curve if we don't allow our players to go into play in the IPL. We are losing out on that skill level. So it was more losing out on the skill level plus the financial muscle. They could anyways not compete. So why not just allow your players to play out there and they will be so happy to return to your national team if they're good enough. So that has gone away. Now it's a question of workload management, which is forever a question for even the Indian cricket team. That's a question of constants. But I think the value of IPL and whether they can stop players from playing in the IPL, that has drastically reduced.
yeah. When you talk about workload management, I always remember the statement by Ravi Shastri that auctions are the best physios.
Physios, yeah. Love that statement. I mean, everyone gets fit. Everyone gets fit by
Everyone
the
gets
time
fit.
IPL gets fit. By the time auction starts or the IPL starts.
Yeah, yeah. But then I feel we've spoken a lot about multiple what ifs in the first season and then in the subsequent season. I think let's move on to the next segment, SS, which is what if IPL had failed. So I have a few questions for you, and I want your
Yeah.
take on that. So the first set of questions is all around impact on India and BCCI. The first question is, and it's pretty straightforward: would BCCI still be a financial powerhouse as it is today had IPL failed?
Powerhouse, yes. Mega powerhouse, no. That is the short and sweet answer. I think they were already strong when Dalmia got the ICC World Cup in 96. They were already strong. They have the biggest catchment market of the audience. They have the biggest advertisers who are interested in the sport. They were always that. This just gave them the extra 25%. And they have become like, you cannot even touch them. You have to play by their rules.
Yeah, completely agree to that, SS. India, anyways, as India kept getting more money as an economy, we kept growing quite rapidly through those years. So that is another contributing factor. IPL, of course, rode that wave, but also gives so much of financial power to BCCI. And
That they
now,
don't even care about a certain nation and players of a certain nation, that they don't care that whether they play or not. That tells
yeah,
a lot.
yeah, yeah. That's very well put, very subtly put. But moving on to the next question: could India's global cricketing influence have diminished, making ICC a more balanced entity?
I would say, yeah, if they did not succeed, if the product did not succeed, it would have given a lot of confidence to the other boards that we can pull off this product better in our, like a BBL or a CPL for that matter of time. And that would have brought some more equity to the equation. I mean, instead of top three, you will have like a top four or a top five. If Pakistan had a successful thing, they did not have, they had some few things going for them. Uh, so I would say, yeah, their influence would have reduced for sure if it did not succeed.
Yeah, I also feel that right now, India, England, and Australia are the three biggest boards. India, by far, the biggest of the three as well. But the balance would also have been more equitable in the subcontinent. So right
Right.
now, we completely dominate the subcontinent. I think it would have been more balanced even in this part.
For good or bad, we dominate too much, and I think that would have been more equitable.
Yeah. The third question is: would Indian domestic cricket have remained limited to Ranji and Syed Mushtaq Ali T20s?
This I disagree. I believe that even if IPL wasn't successful, they would have kept running for it for certain time, even though they wouldn't have been, let's say, able to attract the international players. But I think it would become the premier competition. I think Syed Mushtaq Ali T20 might be reduced to like nobody playing for it, just the players who do not get into the IPL side. So I would say IPL would have continued, but given the importance by and the skill transfer that has happened over the years, I would say a bigger problem would have been on Indian talent and the Indian quality at the international level. But I think as a competition, I think IPL would have persisted because of the general focus of the boards across the world, ICC, plus looking at other sports and how we can compete with them, how cricket can compete as a product. And I think the franchise mode and the T20 mode was the best option available for them. So I think they would have continued. Look at England, they're still trying out with the 100, right? So I think the competition would have persisted.
Yeah, I also kind of agree to that, but also have a certain different point of view. Like England cricket, they started off with the T20 league, wasn't very successful over there, so they had to innovate and bring out the 100. I think had IPL not succeeded, then Indian cricket would have definitely had domestic tournaments, Ranji Trophy and Syed Mushtaq Ali. But then I'm pretty sure that BCCI would have been forced to try and innovate around having a premium domestic league, which also attracts global audiences and global players. So that is, I think, something which the BCCI would have been forced to do. Whether they would have been successful at that or not, that is up to debates. But I do feel that like Ranji would have been more prominent in the domestic circles. Players would have focused more on the Ranji Trophy. Like a lot of players right now, and maybe Yuzi Chahal is an example, who doesn't even want to play red ball cricket right now because IPL is so successful and he can make big bucks in the IPL. A lot of players like that would have to go back and perform at Ranji level. So I think Ranji Trophy, the prominence would have been a lot bigger. Syed Mushtaq Ali, I think, would have been at the similar level with the BCCI trying to push new leagues and new innovations in place. So I think that is how the domestic structure would have been. But Ranji Trophy would have been a bit stronger, is what I feel, and would have been the premium domestic league.
Nice. Let's go to the next one. This time I will be asking you your opinions first. It's about evolution of T20 cricket without IPL in general. And one is that if IPL had failed, uh, would ICL have survived longer?
I don't think so because we already spoke about it. IPL as a product was better than ICL for all the reasons that we discussed earlier. If a better product fails, then I have all the reasons to believe that an inferior product would have failed as well.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's not just because of competition, but because of the attractiveness of the product that ICL lacked, that it failed. And anyways, if BCCI doesn't allow all the superstars of Indian cricket to feature in the tournament, there's no way that it
Right.
would have gotten that prominence, that
And I don't
traction.
think any superstar would go away from the BCCI ruling and jeopardize their entire after
Careers.
cricketing
Yeah,
life. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But what about the outside the country competition, let's say BBL, PCL, and CPL, for example? Would they have gained much larger popularity, let's say even in Indian subcontinent as well, uh, if IPL did not succeed?
I feel something like a BBL would have succeeded because they have been able to capture the Australian audiences really well, and the standard of cricket, the product that they have is fairly good. Like you see all these highlights from BBL, and they are quite amazing. You have all these Australian players pulling off these amazing catches in the outfield. So the standard of cricket, the product is fairly good, and BBL also came up in the initial years of IPL when
Yeah,
when the leagues hadn't completely taken over. The same is the case with the CPL as well. It was more in the initial stages, and it also got a lot of traction from the players within Caribbean and also global players. I think
yeah,
that was one of the first leagues where we had a lot of marquee global players going and playing apart from IPL. But then,
yeah.
if we talk about other leagues like something like SA20, I feel that wouldn't have flown because, anyways, we know that it's owned by most of the IPL franchisees. So wherever there is IPL money going and making these leagues possible, probably they would have struggled. Then,
Yeah, I think also BBL has also gone a bit lower in the standards now because I think it coincides with the Australian summer in which a lot of top players may not be available. I think the PSL has done well since it has launched. It has got good quality, but of course it lacks because it doesn't get Indian players. I think at the moment when BCCI ever opens it up, I think that will give a lot of fillip to it. So BCCI and IPL came with a very strong and nuanced ruling that foreign players can play in our leagues, but we will not allow our players. And if India is one of the top countries producing, I mean, then the lack of quality is always there. So if even if IPL did not succeed, but BCCI did not allow their players, I don't think the product would have got to a certain standard.
fair enough. I think that's also a good point that you make.
Right. I think we have covered well on the evolution of T20 cricket without IPL. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, so this is one section that I again have a few questions for USS. This is around the careers of players and finances, general cricketing skill, and cricket as a sport. So I'll ask you a few questions, and you need to give me your point of view. So the first one is: would players like Rohit Sharma, Hardik Pandya, Jasprit Bumrah have had the same career trajectory?
When I think about Hardik and Bumrah, they are products of the IPL. Ashwin being the first, I remember. There's so many that IPL and the scouting system around it because now IPL scouting is like the year round. So Mumbai Indians is scouting players all around the year. And if they were not scouted, they would may not have got the exposure, the coaching, the right direction, the right confidence, and these players might have got lost. I mean, okay, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma were already in the national team reckoning by then, and they were already playing, and they had bright future. They had always been back from their junior days. They would have really succeeded, played all formats for India. But some of the lesser players not so. And we are still talking about players who play currently for India. It made a lot of even for players who played few games for India. I mean, IPL was such a good breeding ground for them, like increasing their skill level. They would have been lost in the system. They would have been still playing or not playing even domestic cricket. They would have found another avenue to earn their livelihood. So that way, if IPL had gotten failed, you would have lost a lot of talent. India wouldn't be richer. World wouldn't have been richer with so much cricketing talent and skill.
I really resonate with the point that you make around scouting. I actually feel that some of the most successful franchisees, even in IPL, are the ones who have the best scouting systems for local talent. And Mumbai Indians being one of them, I think some of the biggest superstars in the Indian team have come up from the Mumbai Indian system and from the scouting system. If you look at some of the players that Mumbai Indians has been able to groom and who ended up being match winners for India, there are so many of them. Hardik Pandya, Jasprit Bumrah, you mentioned Surya Kumar Yadav also. Uh, then, of course, Rohit Sharma. He, although as you mentioned, was already there in the reckoning for Indian team, but then again, Mumbai Indians is where he came and flourished, even as a captain. So many players who made it big in the IPL, who were actually discovered by these franchisees, made it big in the IPL, and then ended up going and playing for India.
And this has led to there's a domino effect as well because not everyone will be picked for IPL. But people are looking at T20 format and making sure that skill set is in form. They get picked up by other leagues around the world. If they do decently well, the scouting system is all around the world. Looking at a Noor Ahmed, for example, looking at a Spencer Johnson, for example, and they're
Rashid
going to
Khan.
bring them, Rashid Khan. I mean, and then they are going to bring them in the IPL auction. So it has like a domino effect. If you don't pick in the IPL, no worries. You will make into a minor league somewhere in the world, do well, and then IPL will be open for you because the scouting system is so efficient.
The next question is: would cricketers still make millions, or would the financial disparity between formats have remained?
Financial disparity would always be there because top earners will get sponsorships, will get like millions to make. So that will always be there. But the thing around cricketers which do not make the top cut is that now they have like they have a financial pillow, so to speak, because they can even if they do well for 2, 3 seasons, they can earn millions that will be more than what they could make throughout their domestic careers or by playing 1 or 2 ODIs for the country. And this also allows BCCI to build up a financial corpus for them, for the pensions and everything. It has created so many jobs in the economy of cricket, like commentators, like the vernacular ones. You have the coaching, you have the data people, you have the physiotherapists, you have the mentors. You have so much now. So in a way of generating jobs in the cricketing economy, it's been excellent. So but the disparity would be still there in the really top cricketers, but the other cricketers, but everyone, a wider base would be thriving on the money that is made by the IPL. There will be lesser people who get lost in the system and lost in lives because there is no money.
I think you're bang on that one, SS. I completely agree. I feel the top tier money would have still been there given how popular the sport is in India. Someone like Sachin Tendulkar, MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli would have still made the big bucks that they have. But it's really the mid tier money where IPL has made such a difference. Example, earlier there were like 15 slots to be filled. Players who would go and play for the Indian team, and who would make a decent living out of playing cricket. But now it's essentially 20 players per franchisee into 10 franchisees, almost 200. So it's grown more than 15x. So I feel it definitely has made an impact that place. The third question that I have, and this is the final question in this segment from my side towards USS, would Test cricket have remained dominant for longer without IPL driven T20 expansion?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, Test cricket has gone through ups and downs, but I feel even we are still living in a golden age of Test cricket in the last 10, 50 years, pretty insulated from everything that's happening around the world. I think it's the ODI cricket that suffered a lot. I think ODI cricket has been relegated sometimes to the third one. There are moments around the World Cup cycle where it gets picked up. It has suffered through so many changes in rules and regulations. So trying to bring more impetus to ODI, just trying to get some T20 elements into it. So I think Test cricket we felt would have a big impact. I can give you another example. We always felt spinners would be out of the picture of the sport, but now they're still at the cornerstone of T20 game. And similarly, you have Test cricket still the cornerstone of the game that everyone still wants to at least prioritize. All the top cricketers, even the young cricketers, want to play Test cricket. It's I think the ODI cricket that suffered a lot. If IPL wouldn't have been there, T20 would have been just like a special series that happens between teams. And ODI cricket would have been still king, and you would have still players playing 400 games like Virat Kohli, which doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. And in fact, I feel T20 has actually accelerated the data analytics and adoption on that front
Yeah, yeah,
in overall
yeah.
cricket, because the margins are so small that this is what can make the difference. People now have
We
started
talk
believing
about
in matchups.
matchups in Test cricket now, which
Absolutely.
never
So
used
it's
to
it's it's
happen
a
now.
it's in fact a positive impact on Test cricket. But yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. ODI cricket is, I feel, the one format that has suffered the most.
All right. Then it was so interesting talking about all these points. I think now it's time that we come to the closing thoughts on what we think and the thing is, uh, let's go this again by question. What's the single biggest moment you think that has ensured IPL success, if there is a single moment?
That is such a difficult question to answer. As 18 long years of so many of those impactful moments that have created so much of impact for the sport, for the league. But if I have to really think about a single biggest moment, then it has to be that McCullum innings. Or
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that was just such a perfect start for the entire tournament. What's your answer to this question, SS? I give it back to you.
I think it's a difficult one. I would in fact pick a period, the MI-CSK rivalry. I think that just catapulted T20 and the love of IPL to another level. Malinga and Pollard and Hussey and Hayden and Raina, and that was like a stalwart rivalry that those two teams had, and they produced the best cricket, and everyone was onto it. Even the neutrals would favor one team or the other. It was quite something to go for. So I think that rivalry really played a big role. I think it's underrated almost, in my opinion.
That's a good one.
If you had to pick one scenario that would have truly killed the IPL, we discussed many of them, like the biggest what if it had come to full fruition, which one would that be?
I think the biggest what if out of everything that we discussed was the match fixing scandal. I think if the fans lost trust in the franchisees at that point of time, in the entire league at that point of time, then it would have been the biggest hit for the franchisee. What do you think, SS? What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, the close one would be that if the big boards would have not allowed their players to even represent, but I think they could not say no because the financial muscle and the players would anyways at some point of time revolt. So I think I would also have to agree that the core of the thing was around corruption. So if the corruption thing and spot fixing thing would have caught a bigger fishes, it would have really crippled the system, I think. I would say that is the biggest, in my opinion. Finally, I think we have covered everything. Now I think it's about. All right, folks. I think that was today's episode. It was fun one to record, looking back at everything that IPL has given us, and probably there will be 18, 36, 54 years more of IPL, which we will keep enjoying in our lifetime. Um, we will have some surprising but very nice announcement coming through to you guys after this episode is published. And stay tuned for that. It was fun recording this, and hope you guys enjoy it.